Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta, where our mission is to create a beloved community, working together with compassion, reason, and respect to promote a just society. And in view of that, we would like to acknowledge that here in the CSRA, we reside on the lands of the Westo people, the Savannah Shawnees, and the Yuchi peoples of the Muskogee Confederacy. My name is Barbara Bowen. My pronouns are she, her, and today I'm co-creating this service with Jezibell Anat, Janeya Filzen, Chris Maurer, Cheryl Martin, Josef Patchen, our music director, Rhonda Jones, our singer, the talented folks running our tech deck, and all of you. We're all shaping this moment together. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today, whether you're here in person or on Zoom, although I really want to appreciate all the people who showed up today in this weather. I'm really touched. As the days grow shorter and the nights grow colder, it's good to gather together with friends and loved ones who warm our hearts and brighten our lives. Whoever you are and however you came to be with us today, old friend or new, you are truly welcome. May the warmth of our fellowship enfold us as we worship and celebrate together.
Winter solstice, the rebirth of the sun and the slow, slow return of the light. 'Tis the season to turn inward, stoke the fires, nourish, snuggle, reflect, rest. The time to tend our roots that will feed the blooms yet to come.
We can rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn.
Number 55, Dark of Winter.
Let my thoughts know where they
the area light.
Is the, pardon? Don't even use it, right? I can do that. Okay, my name is Marika Bhattacharya, and I'm a member of your pastoral care team. This is the time in our service when we get to share the joys and sorrows that have been shaping our lives recently. I will drop, and you get to drop a stone in the water to signify the communication that we support here. The first stone I'm going to add is for the people who are not able to make it to the service today. And there we go.
At this time, let's sing our kids out to continue their faith formation.
It's always nice to see how many of them there are. So during this holiday season, it seems like we're constantly besieged by people asking us to give just a little bit more. Telemarketers, TV ads, people with bells and buckets in front of every store. And don't forget the kids with their Christmas lists. It's enough to bring out the Scrooge in anyone. And here we are at the point in the service where we bring the offering plates out and ask you to contribute just a little bit more. It always makes me a little uncomfortable when I have to give the invitation to generosity. Nobody really likes asking for money, especially at this time of year, especially when I know that many of you already support the church generously with your pledges. As a former treasurer, I can tell you we really appreciate that. But I also know that our budget counts on the offerings that are given during our Sunday services as well. And that budget doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in it. So I'm going to ask you once again to please give whatever you feel you can afford to keep the lights on and the furnace running. And don't forget, you only have 2 more Sundays to get those contributions on record in order to count toward this year's tax deductions. Will the ushers please come forward?
Happy
thank you all for your generosity.
And now we enter the liminal time of reckoning and remembrance, the time to celebrate the dance of the sun and the wintry queen, and thus we call in the elemental spirits.
As the land lies dormant and bare, we call the strength of the north, powers of endurance and containment, spirits of the earth, be with us today.
Tend your roots and settle in, beautiful darkness transforming within.
As the air blows cold and sharp, we call to the wisdom of the east, powers of swiftness and clarity. Spirits of the air, be with us today.
Tend your thoughts and settle in, beautiful darkness transforming within.
As the flame burns warm and inviting, we call to the courage of the south. Powers of courage and ferocity, spirit of fire, be with us today.
Tend your hearts and settle in, beautiful darkness transforming within.
As the water freezes into snow and ice, we call to the stillness of the west, powers of mystery and beauty, spirits of the water, be with us today.
Tend your dreams and settle in, beautiful darkness transforming within. When the leaves are gone, when the river is frozen, when the ground is hard, when the animals hide, when the shadows gather, from the greatest darkness, from the deepest cold, comes the wintry queen, followed by a train of ghosts. She is the goddess of winter in myriad forms, the mistress of death, the white witch, she who freezes, a pale specter dancing on the northern wind. She mourns the loss of the grain god, the corn king, who grows green and golden in the warm season, but is cut down in the autumn.
Blood red skies in the morning, pitch black heavens at night. Take them both as a warning that the winter fire need be bright. Fierce the blaze on the mountain, sheds light for miles around. While the stream and the fountain lie frozen and locked in the ground. Now the leprous white lady leads her train of the lost, leads the spirits through glade and wood and goodly fields of frost. Summer's consort wax brightly the tall and golden-haired prince, and she came to him nightly with pomegranate and quince. Dead and gone is her lover, the most fair and radiant of all. Now she'll never recover, the king cut down in the fall. Now the leprous white lady leads her train of the lost, leads the spirits through gleam, fields of frost. While the climbing sun tarried, as if his marches were stayed, at midsummer they married, mortal man and immortal maid. Has a king ever reckoned what he gives for the boreal crown? To be gone for the second, ere the sun starts his course ever down. Now the leprous white lady leads her train of the lost, leads the spirits through glade and wood and goodly fields of frost. Through the summer and after, in the sere and brown of the fall, days were filled with their laughter, Leads her train of the lost, leads the spirits through glade and wood and goodly fields of frost.
Among the Vikings presides over the winter and the hunt, and some believe that Scandinavia was named after her. She is technically a giantess, not a goddess, and she holds a primal, pragmatic energy. She invented skis and traverses the snowy mountains hunting with her bow. Skadi is a seeker of justice. When the gods killed her father, she stormed Asgard, demanding compensation in the form of a husband. The gods agreed on the condition that she choose her spouse by looking only at his feet. Thus she picked Njord, the god of the sea. This marriage did not go well. She loved her snowy mountains, and Njord loved his rolling sea. They separated in what was probably the first amicable divorce in mythology. They acknowledged that the marriage did not work out, and so they moved on. Skadi represents the strength, ingenuity, and resilience needed to survive in an extremely harsh environment.
Among the Slavic peoples, the goddess of winter was known as Marana, or Mara. She is associated with dreams, death, and rebirth. She brings the numbing frost and icy winds of winter, representing the cold darkness of nature's fallow season. And in some myths, she also rules over the dead. She is both feared and respected, but she also brings the promise of rebirth, as her departure marks the end of winter and the beginning of spring. There is a folk custom of drowning an effigy of Marzana to celebrate the end of winter, and this practice has survived in parts of Eastern and Central Europe. Today, the drowning of Marzana has lost its sacred character and is a light-hearted occasion to have fun and celebrate spring. But if we look at the deeper meaning, the drowning of Marzana in water represents the goddess's symbolic descent into the underworld to be reborn with next winter.
Befana is the beloved Christmas witch of Italian folklore, a wise, mystical woman whose broomstick is our portal. In Christian legends, the biblical magi invited her to join them on their journey to see baby Jesus, but she declined because she was busy with housework. Later, she changed her mind and went out to look for them, but she arrived too late. So now she brings nuts, figs, and sweets to all the children on January 5th, the eve of Epiphany. She also sweeps the floor when she delivers her goodies. Some say her name comes from an Italian mispronunciation of the Greek word epiphania, epiphany. But Befana more likely derives from the Roman goddess Strena, who represents the new year, purification, and well-being. The Romans exchanged gifts in her honor. To the children, Befana offers the gifts of the ancestors, bringing sacred treats between worlds. Her nocturnal wanderings represent the transcendent time around the winter solstice, and her sweeping brings clarity and protection.
Stories of Kalika are found in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. Her name has various pronunciations. She is an ancient Celtic goddess associated with winter, mountains, and sovereignty over the harsh and barren land. She created the Highlands of Scotland by dropping stones from her basket when she strode across the land. Kalika has springs in the winter by washing the Great Plaid in a whirlpool for 3 days and until it's pure white and snow covers the ground. Often described as a divine hag or crone, she symbolizes wisdom, power, and the cyclical nature of life. She herds deer and is sometimes called a witch. The Kalika gathers her firework on the eve of the winter solace. In the morning, she drinks from the well of youth, which renews her life force so that she grows younger. Sometimes she is partnered with the fire goddess Breed or Bridget, and she rules the winter months while Breed rules the summer.
So we see various aspects of the goddess of winter, the time of cold, which usually down here we don't experience as much, but I know some of us have lived in much colder areas where there was real danger of freezing, frostbite, and if you were out too late in the cold, it could be fatal. And these are what a lot of our northern ancestors have had to reckon with, is the harshness of winter and the darker time. And even stories, I know many of you as children read the Hans Christian Andersen story of the Snow Queen. That was actually one of my favorite stories growing up. And even Elsa of the more modern version is another aspect of this snowy aspect of winter, which on one hand seems very forbidding, but is also the time for the earth to rest and the time of balance. It's a reminder that we have had our harvest time. We are approaching the end of the year. It is a time of reckoning, looking at what we have done. The warm days are not going to, well, we're in the South. The warm days may come back sooner for us and for a lot of people, but we've still got a lot of darkness ahead of us. And we are so caught up in the whole Christmas, bright lights and everybody be happy, that we ignore what the season is saying. The whole pattern from Samhain to Yule is the darkening time of the year. It is the time to gather in. It was the time when people would gather and tell ghost stories. And what is our most famous Christmas story? 3 ghosts coming to tell a rich guy how to behave. So we are very aware of the other world. And many of us at this time of year are keenly aware of our loss. We've accepted the limitations of our harvest, and that what we have done, whether we rejoice in it, whether we wish we'd done more, whether we wish we'd done less, whether we look back and go, how could I have done that? It's there. We look at our triumphs, our mistakes, and not necessarily in a punitive way, but examining our lives is how we learn what worked and what didn't, what contributed to our growth, what contributed to our community. And sometimes we tried something that didn't work and we need to let go of it, and that's called growth. It doesn't mean that you're stupid or mistaken, but we learn from things that don't always work. And that is the lesson of winter, is settling into the darkness and allowing it to ease. And that's why I moved our meditation into this time when we are honoring the dark. So now is the time, actually you guys can sit for a minute and then come back for the last piece. Find yourself a spot where you can relax, feet on the ground, something that's comfortable for you, where your spine is supported, as though you're settling into the depth of the winter. And in some ways, this gray day, I know it was hard for people driving, but it's suitable for this Yule time. For the time that's not always pretty. We want to distract ourselves with shiny lights and presents and this enforced joy. That's not always how we feel. And even if things are going well for us, We may not feel this shallow, dominant culture view of happiness. Our peace comes deeper. Our peace comes from connecting with the bark of a tree, stripped of its branches, roots deep in the ground. And these roots going deep into our Mother Earth, deep into the soil that for the Northern Hemisphere is not so fertile. It is our anchor, connecting us with the underworld, the place of our ancestors. For in many pagan cultures, this was the time of honoring those who have gone before. It's not simply Samhain, but this dark season. And I know many of us are remembering family, friends, loved ones, people who made a difference in our lives, who are no longer on this plane. And this is a time to reach deep into our memories. Among the Teutonic people, the first night of Yule, Modronik, Mother Night, especially remembering our female ancestors, the ones who carried us in their womb. Our first sound was their heartbeat in our ears. And this line of mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers, as well as the goddesses that we've honored, the divine feminine, which has been so left out of our modern culture. And so we especially honor the women now at this time of year. And we honor all of those who live in far harder times than we have. We complain about traffic, our internet connection. Many of them were in danger of starvation, and it was not because of fucked up supply systems and hoarders as we have now, but at the time, if you had bad weather during the summer and you didn't have a harvest, not everyone would eat. And it was sometimes a time of tough choices. And this was as well a time for tough choices in many of our lives. Some of us are looking at what we want for next year, the seeds we want to plant. But it's now a time to look to the roots. And take a moment, as with the trees, the leaves have blown off. What have we learned that did not work for us this year? What can we let go of? It might be an attitude. Many of us are learning more about other people, challenging assumptions and stereotypes. And we have learned to check a lot of our immediate assumptions and dig deeper. We are looking at conflicts in the world, where we are looking at how we regard other people and their lands and their struggles. And we are learning empathy for those whose lives are not ours. We are learning what our reactions are and what is true for us. Because when we come down to our roots, this is our essence. And this is the heart of winter. And this is the grounding of the wintry queen, Cailleach in her mountains, Befana with her gifts, Marjana with her dark wisdom, and Scotty with her resourcefulness. How do we work with ourselves and what we have? And it's easy to get in the trap of looking at others, being dazzled by their outsides or what seems to be their gifts and what seems to be so easy for them. And we often I wish I had that skill. I wish I were like that. And this comparison is deadly. You do not know their roots. You may see a very shiny tree with bright leaves or green leaves and wondering where is their strength. We do not know what their roots are, what their struggle has been. And we have all had struggle, and that unites us. And finding out where are our roots. And that is the gift of the Wintry Queen, because it's easy to be loving and generous when our lives are going well. When we have a lot, we can give a lot. We're not always in that state. I know that some of you are in deep struggle and have suffered deep loss. Maintaining our compassion, our self-love, and finding the worthiness in ourselves amidst the darkness, when everything seems to be washing away in the rain or frozen in the frost and the cold, and finding that frozen part, gathering it in, and preparing for the sun to return. And this is the time now, the solstice, the longest night of the year. And there were cultures that, not knowing the astronomical knowledge that we have, and it can seem when you're in a place without electric lights and you're in that deep dark, it can sometimes seem that the light may not come back. And I know that we have all been in those dark nights of the soul as well, where it just seemed like everything was collapsing around us. We had nothing, no one had nothing, and there was no hope. And that is the part where we still remember we have our roots. We are all survivors of ancient peoples who suffered through the cold, or if you're from southern climates, the scorching, desiccating heat that can be just as searing and devastating. We have all come from strong people who survived millennia. We all have strong ancestors, or we simply wouldn't be here. We've made it this far. And now we have a lot more knowledge than we had. We are learning ways of dealing with situations. And yes, there's a lot of horrible things out there that we see in the news. But we have places like this where we can gather and we can tend our roots, and we can gather our seeds and find our seeds and pool our seeds if we need to, because this is where our gathering together in these places can help us share our light. And as we turn to the time when our sun is beginning to return, and the solar deity has been known by many names, and we think of our Middle Eastern solar gods, we are familiar with Mithras, a sun god born of a virgin in a cave. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Horus, born on the winter solstice, born to avenge his father Osiris. Sol Invictus, the unconquerable sun. The sun is our standard and our golden light, and as we can see in the image there, the sun shining through the trees. And among the northern people, the sun, the goddess Suna, who gave her name to our sun. And she has been sinking in the winter darkness. We have heard the wolves howling at our door. But Suna is returning, and she brings forth her chariot. Yes, the wolves are still chasing her, but her chariot is shining. And now we come to our time of the sun and the solstice coming back, and the shortest day, and then the light gradually increases. The seasons turn, we seek the light. We raise the sun from dark of night. The seasons turn, we seek the light. We raise the sun from dark of night. The seasons turn, we seek the light. We raise the sun from dark of night. The seasons turn, we seek the light. We raise the sun from dark of night. The seasons turn, we seek the light. We raise the sun from dark of night.
Let's rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Light is Returning.
We thank the spirits of earth for sustaining us through the winter, knowing that the land will bloom once again.
We thank the spirits of water for guiding us to the depths in ourselves and connecting us with the ebb and flow of life.
We thank the spirits of fire for tending our inner flame, warming us and inspiring us through the cold season.
We thank the spirits of air for the clarity of vision, the power of song, and the lengthening of days.
We thank the wintry queen, the goddess of winter, the white witch, the frosty one, all the goddesses who represent this dark, cold time, who bring us in to the light and guide us through the lengthening darkness. Now, Spirit of Life.